people in chat are going to be like, what did Pinesap just say, dude? Stop being sussy. Stop being sussy. Well, you know what? That's just how I am, man. I am sussy. I have become sus. Destroyer of Among Us, dude.
If you've been on the internet anytime the past few months, you've probably seen Nick Fuentes' baby Godzilla-looking face plastered on a thumbnail for some slop podcast or another. He's been on the PBD podcast, the Dave Smith podcast, Bradley Martin's podcast, the Sam Hyde Show, the Gavin McInnes podcast, Glenn Greenwald Show, and the Tucker Carlson podcast, reaching millions of viewers in what he calls a generational run, especially because just a few years ago, he was kicked off social media for his extreme views and his participation in January 6th.
Mike Pence has betrayed the United States of America!
Donald Trump is even talking about him nowadays.
Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him.
And the Senate is poised to strike him down. His live streams get tens of thousands of live viewers. There's probably more than a couple watching this video right now. While there's no solid data, more and more people are claiming that a significant portion of Gen Z men are flocking to Fuentes. And the reason this is bad is because he is wrong. So what does Nick Fuentes actually believe, and why is he wrong? This is What, Why, How, and that's what the video's about. If you like this sort of thing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel on patreon.com/whatwhyhow for early access to future videos. So let's first address the question of why Nick Fuentes is getting popular. I don't think Fuentes' success is because he makes especially coherent, rational, or accurate arguments. I think it's because, 1, taboo things just get more attention. 2, he's funny in a sort of sassy theater kid way.
I kind of like lattes. I like Mexican food. I like La La Land. Arrest me! Officers, did you forget your handcuffs? Or am I free to go? Yeah, I like La La Land. And I like Joseph Stalin. And I'm done pretending that I don't. Did you forget your handcuffs? Or is that not a crime? Am I being detained? Anyway, what was the question?
3,
Okay. There is something charming about being a little sassy. Okay? Because you get on the internet, you get all these like overly serious Gen X and millennial guys that are like, that's what being a man's about. You got to be a man, and you gotta grow a big old beard and drink Knob Creek whiskey and smoke your cigar. And we've talked about this a million times, right? Like that archetype. But then when you're like the fingernail painting emoji, and you got your matcha and you're painting your fingernail, right? That's got some like aura to it, dude. Like John Miller does that all the time. That's why I love John Miller, dude. He's just sassy. You got to be kind of a little sassy, right? If you're sassy, it's like you just have this like energy where things just roll off your back. If you're not sassy, it's like you take things overly serious and then you just kind of look like a dork, you know? Don't take things so seriously. Embody the like spirit of the fingernail painting emoji, right? Be a little sassy, drink your matcha, have your labubu. If you're not doing that, man, like you're missing the mark, honestly. Bruh, not. Dude, Nuki, see, your Gen X is coming out, bro. You got to get that whole Gen Z vibe. You got to get that like performative male vibe. See, Coffee Bean gets it. He's doing the sassy emoji in chat. Sassy and sussy, sappy. That's what I'm saying.
His gnarled, double-jointed fingers at easy scapegoats for white men to blame all of our problems on. And 4, the weakness.
Do I have to paint my? No, don't. Okay, don't actually paint your nails. That is gay. Do not do that. I'm saying it's like you have to be like you have to just be a critic. You know. You got to be a little critic. Don't be gay, right? Don't be gay, but be a little bit of a critic. Have a little sass to it, you know? If you're a little sassy, it's like things just roll off your back. Just don't be self-serious.
Of alternatives. For number 4, obviously one alternative is the mainstream media, which nobody likes anymore, but the online political landscape is, to put it lightly, not good for young people either. Hassan Piker is the largest voice on the left, but his millionaire frat bro persona inevitably casts him as a hypocrite when he talks about real issues.
Kaya, please, just fucking go, just stop.
Then you have
That's crazy. Oh wait, let's see here. Stateless. Dude, I have to like read the like live chats on the actual thing. Let's see here. Stateless sent $5. Got work on the morning, so got to head out and catch the replay. Thanks for the stream as always. Hey, thank you, man. God bless you. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay, Stateless. dude.
A
We love
pervert. On the
stateless.
center left, you have Destiny, another pervert. Conservative online personalities, meanwhile, have been completely unable to respond to Israel's mass murder campaign against Gaza, leaving anyone with a vague sense of morality looking around for someone to diagnose this obvious illness in Western civilization. Plus, the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk has opened up the floodgates for a slew of previously banned and ostracized characters, and given Fuentes a new cultural opening to leap from podcast to podcast into the public eye. But despite the fact that Fuentes' appeal is irrational, I'm hoping that presenting rational, evidence-based...
Okay, yes. Igna said it in chat. Be like Richard Spencer. Like, unironically, like the kind of like cultural critic energy that Richard Spencer brings, that is cool. Be that way. There's a couple people who embody this really well. Like Jordan B does a good job at it, Richard Spencer, John Miller, and then of course Nick, right? Like you got to be that kind of vibe. Because if you're just like overly serious about stuff and you're not like incisive, the other thing is too, I think it's a manner of just calling out things like it is. That's what I mean by sassy. Like just calling out things like it is. Like something I hate about something I honestly really, really hate about like conservatives in America is like they'll pretend that like really lame stuff is cool. Like they're like, oh, you know, Tom McDonald's cool because he's like on our side. So that just makes him default cool. Like forget about how absolutely like dog shit his music is. He's just cool because he calls himself MAGA. No, Tom McDonald's music sucks, dude. His music is awful. His music literally destroys your ears. It is the worst music I've ever listened to. I'm not going to pretend it's cool just because he like puts on a MAGA hat or whatever. Or it's like the people who unironically used like the whole panicking term for those of us who are critical of Trump. Like, oh, they're like, oh, all these panicins and look what Trump's doing. Guys, did you see the shooter was like from Afghanistan or like supported the Taliban or whatever? Well, Trump's finally going to lock in and he's going to deport all illegals and immigrants. No, he's not, dude. He's not going to do that. You've convinced yourself that he is. He's not going to do that. Trump is not based. If you have not gotten that now, I can't help you. If you're not caught up to speed that Trump is not your guy, there is no helping you. There is no saving your peanut-sized goyim brain. Unironically, these people are like goyim, dude. Like when people use the term goyim, these people are goys. Like they just eat up whatever slop it's like Captive Dreamer. Like Captive Dreamer is such a goy. I mean, he literally is a Shabbos goy, but he's like, he just eats up like, did you trust the Plan, Patriots? Well, he posts a picture of him like on like Norwood level 5 with his like big, disgusting oblong Megamind head. You do not look cool, dude. You've got like a gay lisp and like a disgusting oblong head. Get that off my screen. You should have never face doxed, dude. It's like all the BAP guys. All the BAP guys do this. It's like they'll eat up whatever slop is MAGA or whatever, you know, BAP likes or the like non-Christian right likes, and it's gross. Right? They'll just completely like hand over fist like adore it and worship it and oh, this music, I'm going to pretend this music is good because the guy who wrote it is awesome. And you even get this kind of on the dissident right too. Like, I mean, again, we were talking about those grifters earlier, but it's like, they'll be like, guys, did you see this funny skit where someone mentions the Jews? Oh my goodness, it's funny because they mentioned the Jews. It's like the comedians that like rely on like cursing to make their joke funny. Like, it's not the content of their joke that's funny, like Dave Chappelle, and then he might add a curse on top of it. It's that he curses, it's that these kinds of comedians curse because it's like they can't be funny without cursing. Dave Chappelle could still make me laugh without dropping a single F-bomb. The F-bomb's just the like garnish on top. But he's still bringing out like a ribeye to me in terms of comedy. You know what I mean? I had like Kevin Hart playing today or something on like the TV just in the background while I was like texting you guys or like tweeting or something. And like Kevin Hart wasn't making me laugh because it was like all his comedy is just repeatedly cursing and like dropping F-bombs or, you know, calling people these like different ad hominems, but you know, they're also curse words. There's no content to it. He just thinks that like the curse itself is funny, and it's not funny, dude. You know, there's nothing funny about it. Tom McDonald is literally better than Kanye. Dude, oh my goodness. If I actually heard someone say that, I would crash
to his
out.
claims will at least convince some of his fans. And if you aren't one of them, if you know he's already wrong, you can share this video with other people. So what does Nick Fuentes actually believe? Because you're sure as hell not going to learn that from the Tucker Carlson propaganda hour.
I was deeply Catholic, and I still am, deeply patriotic and pro-American, and I don't consider myself temperamentally to be an angry or a hateful person. So I never, in other words, lost my center. Like, my best friend is a Jewish person. You know, so but here's my substantive disagreement, because as a Catholic, I could not...
Sorry, I was laughing, like, it sped up, and then Tucker's like, no. It sounded like a Smurf or something like that. That's crazy.
Yes. In what you're saying. I love all people, even the ones that don't like us. We have to love them all, and we have to recognize that...
We're required to.
Yes. And especially, Aquinas says the Jews are a witness people, and so they actually have special protections under the law, according to Catholic philosophy.
Well, here is Nick Fuentes himself presenting a 30,000-foot view of his own ideology back in March of this year.
That's actually true. Nick got that from St. Thomas Aquinas, and a really good place to read about that is there's this book. You can get a PDF of it, but it's called St. Thomas Aquinas and the Jews. It's a very, very, very good book, not only on St. Thomas Aquinas, but also on like the church, what it taught about the Jewish people during the medieval times. And ironically, what's kind of funny is for all the people that say like Nostra Aetate is like disharmonious with tradition, if you read that book, you realize that they're full of shit, honestly. Like it is literally one of those books that like completely shows a continuity and a harmony with like Nostra Aetate and like all the other documents of the church. So that's really where Nick got that from. It's a very good book, actually. It's a very good historical resource.
Running society, women need to shut the fuck up, blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part, and we would live in paradise. It's that simple. It's literally that simple. But the older I get, the more I realize it is really this simple. We need white men in charge of everything again. That's it.
Real.
Like, it's that simple.
Here's another quote from him from October of this year.
Here's my program for America. One's in the chat if you agree. We're going to take all these Shapiros, the Weinsteins, the Epsteins, and we're going to take the Zorans, the Hassans, and the Ilhans. We're going to get them all together. We're going to put them on a ship, and we're going to send them back to the fucking Middle East. Send them back to the desert. You can have them.
One's in chat.
Let's get all the heads on one side. We'll get all the hats on the other. We're going to put them on a big luxury cruise ship or a giant Boeing 737 MAX, and we can send them all right back to the Middle East. And we'll be all day long. They'll be going to Iraq. They'll be going to Israel.
Now, obviously, he's joking around a bit, but the joke isn't the actual heart of the policy proposal. It's the flippancy with which he presents it. Nick Fuentes actually does believe we should kick out people like Ben Shapiro and Zoran Mamdani. Back in June, Nick Fuentes responded to Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, and Jack Posobiec by saying,
"Let me call your third world immigration moratorium, and let me raise you one. No immigration from non-white countries. Let's be simple. This is a white country. This should remain a white country. We should deport illegal immigrants to sustain the white demographics. We should cease immigration from non-white countries for the same purpose. Will you call me? Will you match me now? I'll do you one better. I think that Jews aren't white. So I think as long as we're on the subject, we shouldn't have any more immigration of Jews in the United States. As a matter of fact, I think that if Jews aren't loyal to America, I think they should leave too. I think any Mexican flag-waving Mexican, Palestinian flag-waving Arab, every Israel flag-waving, I think they should all go home. Because none of them are white, and none of them are loyal to America. Well, now the ball's in your court.
A couple minutes later, Fuentes added,
now the call is remigration and white identity on explicitly racial lines. And they're giving us this slop from 2015. People are eating it up.
You can tell that the loser who made this video is just sitting in his office chair, his like muffin top hanging out over. And, you know, listen, I'm not really as big of a guy as I used to be. I lost like 30 pounds, but like I was a big guy. You know, I'm not much one to talk, but like muffin top hanging over. He's got his like sweater and his like, you know, pencil protector in his pocket. And he's just fucking seething, man. He's just like, how dare this chud say that? I cannot believe he unironically said that. These people are like spiritual nerds. These people are spiritually nerds. Like they're resentful nerds. You see this all the time with like John Doyle, where he tries to like act tough. He tries to like act like the man, or like he's like laying down the law. He's laying down, you know, kind of like principles, or, you know, standing up for what he believes in. But it's just like they're these spiritually seething nerds, and they don't really like. You can escape that. I'm not one of the. I'm not a fatalist. I really do think that if you allow God to heal your heart, anything can happen, right? So I'm not one of these people that says like a tiger can never change its stripes. A tiger can, but I think the problem is you have to want to change, and you have to have enough self-reflection to understand, like, how am I operating this way right now? And a lot of these like spiritually nerdy people, they are very intent on staying that way, rather than ever like looking back at themselves and saying, well, what's making me nerdy? Being nerdy, like, if you want me to distill this for you, being nerdy is two things. It's pride and jealousy. It's pride and jealousy. If you don't have pride and jealousy, you're not a nerd. You can wear big jam jar glasses. You can have a pocket protector. You can look like you're out of Revenge of the Nerds and not be a nerd. Being a nerd is a spiritual thing. And it's people who are prideful and jealous. And it's people who are prideful and jealous but didn't have the things that they were jealous over. Right? So again, in like Doyle's case, he probably was on like... I'm gonna surmise his entire existence in high school because he seems to kind of perpetually live in it. He probably was not getting stuffed into lockers. That doesn't really happen much anymore. But he was probably like on the debate team, right? He was on the debate team. He was probably really good at speech and debate even, but that didn't pull the huzz. You know, girls weren't throwing their panties at him because he was on speech and debate. And that just really angered him. That just got under his skin. He just could not fathom why women wouldn't want to sleep with him, wouldn't want to be with him, wouldn't want to be with the alpha male on the speech and debate team. And so he seethed and he seethed and he seethed, and that just like crystallized in him. That just stewed in him. That just allowed him to stew up and get worked up, right? And rather than saying for a moment, okay, right? Let me ask myself this for a moment. Why, like, if I want a girlfriend, why do I not have a girlfriend? Okay, I'm on the speech and debate team. Well, what really matters to me? Do I want to be on the speech and debate team or do I want a girlfriend? If I want a girlfriend, there's two things. I can either just be confident in myself and everything will fall into place, right? Everything will fall into place. If I want a girlfriend, dude, here's the thing. I have seen guys, I'm not even kidding. I have seen guys who are nerdy, overweight, whatever, right? Who have pulled incredible girls just because they were themselves and they were confident in who they are. And they didn't care. They were like, hey, if I have a girlfriend, great. If I don't, whatever. They were indifferent. Let's see. Yes, King Sap, Rip Michael Hurd. Who's Michael Hurd? Who is Michael Hurd? I actually don't know who that is. Who's Michael Hurd? Who is that guy? Michael Hurd. Someone needs to tell me in chat who Michael Hurd is. But Agartha Massa, thank you for the $3. I really appreciate it. Don't dox me, bro. Let's go. You know, those nerdy guys, right? Or those overweight guys, or those out of shape guys, or maybe those kind of ugly guys or whatever. They just like, don't look it up, bro. Okay, I won't. I'm scared now. They pull because they just don't care. You have to not care. And honestly, like on a deeper level, don't be about women, bro. Like, we say this all the time, but it's like, don't be about women. Do not care about women. Be indifferent to women. You know, if you're meant to get a girlfriend and stuff like that, great, but like, just don't care. Be focused on your goals and be focused on becoming the man that God asked you to be, right? But the problem is, like, someone like Doyle, the only thing that separates him from like a douchebag womanizer is the douchebag womanizer has like enough riz to actually get girls and he doesn't. And so it's not that he's like more virtuous because he doesn't have women. He still wants women as badly as the like womanizer type guy. It's just he doesn't have the riz to like get him. Right? He's not Clav. He's not, like Myron or any of these guys, right? He's not an Andrew Tate. He's like this nerdy, weird guy who looks like he fell out of the 50s. So I don't know, man. It's spiritually nerdy. It's pride and jealousy. That's the two magical combinations. And then it's like, as we always say, when he got the girl, he couldn't get it up. Let's just say he couldn't step up to the plate. He couldn't get up the courage. He couldn't work up the courage to, pull it off. So he couldn't get up the courage to pull it off, and it's like, no, I don't know what joke I was going to make. I was about to make a bad joke, but we're not going to do that. So yeah, I mean, even when he had it, he couldn't reach point A to point B. So it's these people who live in perpetual resentment. You have to free yourself of that kind of resentment. Look, you're not owed a girlfriend because you exist or whatever. You just need to be indifferent to that, and you need to just focus on what God wants for your life and the vocation that you're supposed to live.
Calling it a victory? I don't think so. I'm not going to do it. I'm not about to lay down my arms.
He even has a girl giving him a kiss in the intro of the show. Yeah, is that his sister again? Because reminder, on his original show, that's his sister kissing him in the opening. Did they bring back his sister to give him a kiss once again? Or did they just or did the Blaze hire some poor intern girl, some poor intern e-girl? Normally I don't feel bad for e-girls, but do they force some poor e-girl working on set to give him a kiss? Man, someone needs to send her a bouquet of roses, bro. That's sad.
I'm America first. I'm a Christian nationalist. I'm a white nationalist. This is a white nation. Should be a white nation. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Okay, so does everybody understand Nick Fuentes now? Is there any confusion? He wants to deport a substantial amount of non-white people, even citizens. He wants white people to rule the country, and he wants the basis of the new white country to be his particular interpretation of Catholicism. Nick Fuentes is a white Catholic American nationalist. I'm pretty sure he would...
Where's my white Catholic American nationalist in chat? Call out. Where's my white Catholic American nationalist? Pull up right now, bro. That goes so hard, actually. Wakan, bro. Wakan goes hard. We are Wakans, bro. We are Wakans. White Catholic American nationalists. That's what we are, bro. Zayst.
would describe himself that way. He basically did in that quote. Now, the issue is there are pretty obvious contradictions in this set of beliefs. If you want to have an understanding of the world, you need some sort of belief set, and the belief set shouldn't be contradictory, otherwise it's a bad set of beliefs. Here's one contradiction. The Catholic Church has condemned anti-Semitism for decades. Pope Paul VI declared in 1960...
What? No, dude, what? I've never heard that before! You're telling me this for the first time!
65, that furthermore, in her rejection of every persecution against any man, the Church, mindful of the patrimony she shares with persecution, by the way, the Pope is...
Oh my goodness, dude. Okay, so like I said, we're not going to spend forever on this video. Number one, here's a couple different things. And this is a classic category error that people make literally, reading Nostra Aetate. The ADL's definition of anti-Semitism is not the, and I know some of you are going to be like, don't use the term anti-Semitism. We're just using it as a placeholder, so don't freak out. Here's the thing. The actual sin of anti-Semitism is wildly different than the way this guy defends it. We did, of course, an entire video on it, but if you guys remember, Father Gustav Gunlock, who I talk about in that video, was the Jesuit priest who helped draft the, it never was released, but he helped draft a draft encyclical for Pope Pius XI called Humanae Generis Unitas, the unity of the human family, right? I don't think that's the exact translation of it, but that's the theme of the document. And that document makes a really good distinction already with what the sin of anti-Semitism is, but okay, Miss Machiavelli, $5. Thank you for the $5, Miss Machiavelli. Hi, Sappy. Can you come back to Chicago to protect me from these crazies? Thank you for being a moral voice in a space of greedy grifters. I keep you in my prayers. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know, man. Listen. I can't be fake selling. I gotta be true sell. I gotta be a real sell. I gotta lock in. We're locking in. Lock W. Goon lock. We're goon locking in right now. We are goon locking in. But thank you for the $5, Miss Machiavelli. I appreciate it. But needless to say, so he drafts this encyclical, and it already makes a really good distinction between what is, and we'll actually read this segment, right? We'll read this segment real quick. It is worth reading. Mane Generis Unitas. Okay, let's go here. I'm trying to see where exactly the so we're going to look at line 42 here, right? Line 42 about sums up the correct approach to Jews from a Catholic perspective and Judaism, right? 142. Also, I got to get this stuffy nose figured out, man. It is driving me insane. I'm going in, I didn't tell you guys this. I'm going into surgery December 8th because actually my left tonsil grew back. I got my tonsils removed when I was 9 and my left one grew back, so I need to get it removed again. But I want to see if there's something wrong with my sinuses because I feel very not congested, but it just feels very tight up here right now, right? Like tight in my head. And I want to see, I don't know if it's something wrong with my sinuses or whatever, but it's driving me insane. It's every single time I talk. So 142 says the following, and this is the distinction that we make. The lofty concept of the church has forever held relative to the vocation of the Jewish people as seen from their past history and our ardent hopes for their eventual salvation in the future do not blind her to the spiritual dangers to which contact with Jews can expose souls, or make her unaware of the need to safeguard her children against spiritual contagion. Nor is this need diminished in our own time. As long as the unbelief of the Jewish people persists, as long as there is an active hostility to the Christian religion, just so long must the church use every effort to see that the effects of this unbelief and hostility are not to redound to the ruin of the faith and morals of her own members. Where, moreover, she finds that hatred of the Christian religion has driven misguided souls, whether of the Jewish people or of other origin, to ally themselves with or actively to promote revolutionary movements that aim to destroy society and to obliterate the minds of men, the knowledge, reverence, and love of God. She must warn her children against such movements, expose the ruses and fallacies of their leaders, and find against them appropriate safeguards. Okay? It's very important. We continue. We find that in her history, the church has never failed to warn her children against the teaching of the Jews, when such teaching has been directed against the faith. The church has never sought to minimize the terrific force of the reproaches addressed by the proto-martyr Saint Stephen against those of the Jewish people who knowingly resisted the call of grace, stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ear. Acts 7:50. The church has warned likewise against an over-familiarity with the Jewish community that might lead to customs and ways of thinking contrary to the standards of Christian life. The unyielding energy at one time and the mildness at another of such warnings and measures of self-protection correspond not to any interior change in the church's policy toward the Jews, which remains unaltered, but to altered circumstances and to variations of attitude upon their part. The policy of the church herself in this matter is not to be confounded with the policy of mere individuals. It is to be determined by the conduct of her bishops taken as a whole, her councils, especially the ecumenical councils, and most particularly that of her supreme pontiffs. That is how the church understands anti-Semitism. Right? That's how the church has always understood anti-Semitism. It's not hard to understand. Right? And it even goes on in line 143 to say this. While, however, the teaching of the church considering the relation of the Jewish community with the Christian community, as well as the church's practical attitude in the face of the problems encountered clearly demonstrate the need for energetic measures to both preserve the faith and morals of her members and society itself against the corrupting influence of error, these same doctrines likewise show the utter unfittedness and inefficacy of anti-Semitism as a means of achieving that end. They show anti-Semitism not only is pitifully inadequate, but also defeating its own purposes and producing in the end only greater obstacles to cope with. Right? So that's very, very, very important. What is the church saying here? What is the church's understanding of anti-Semitism? It can be succinctly boiled down to this. We can never, as Catholics, advocate for taking anyone's human rights away. The rights that God gives every single human being. You can't impede people from feeding themselves, feeding their children, holding a job, allocating resources, being able to exist in peace, etc., etc. I think that's pretty clear. I don't think I have to get that detailed with it. You guys know what I mean. But that does not permit Jewish people to exercise a corrupting influence on society and against Catholicism. And so when the church condemns anti-Semitism, this is the mind by which she operates with. This is the mind by which she condemns the sin of anti-Semitism. This idea that the sin lies in unjustly persecuting Jewish individuals or mistreating people on the basis of being Jewish, which has always been a sin. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, for instance, during his time, there were a lot of persecutions against Jews, and he condemned them, and he said, "Hey, don't persecute these people. This is wrong." In the same breath, he condemned the errors of the Jews and stood against them. Two things can be done at once. You don't have to have this binary of I have to be either this raging neo-Nazi, or I have to be this just philo-Semitic dish rag. This philo-Semitic wimp who just allows Jewish people to walk all over me. That's what a guy like this doesn't understand. He just hears the term anti-Semitism and he instantly thinks he's that just means that you can never oppose Jewish people ever, and you can never have any problem with their religion because that's a sin. Well, congratulations, you've condemned 2,000 years of church history. And on top of that too, Pope St. Paul VI, who is the same Pope that issued this document, had this to say in his Good Friday homily. I do love Rorate Cheli. It's a very good website. I don't always agree with the takes on church politics, but their resources and stuff like that are excellent. They're super good. Let's see here. Caser Pro. Let's see here. Dude, if you're going to be a pagan or something in chat, you need to respect where you're at right now. We are not pagan. Paganism is gay. Either know your place in chat or get the fuck out. I'm not doing this whole... It's like that guy the other day that I was interacting with, and he was like, your guy's religion is wrong. Hail Odin or whatever. And he's like, you're so illiterate. You don't even know what your own church teaches. And I'm going to debunk you on the kill stream. And it's like, who are you? You're some trailer park neo-Nazi loser, dude. I'm not wasting my time with you. I always love these guys who it's they have no, because they live in the middle of Alabama or something, in some no-name trailer park. The only thing they can do all day is try to pick random fights on the internet. Yeah, dude, I'm definitely going to waste my time with someone who has no motion and no aura. I don't think so. This is what St. Paul VI had to say in his homily. It, the Passion of our Lord, is a grave and sad page which evokes the clash between Jesus and the Jewish people. This people predestined for receiving the Messiah, which was awaiting him for thousands of years and was entirely absorbed by this hope and certitude at the crucial moment, that is, when Christ comes, speaks and manifests himself, not only does not recognize him, but combats him, slanders him, and finally will kill him. He recognizes our Holy Father, St. Paul VI, recognized the conflict between Judaism and Christianity. Same Pope that issued Nostra Aetate. I would ask this individual is not Catholic, so I don't really give a fuck what he has to say. But if he proclaims to be Catholic, I would ask him, are you going to condemn the same Pope that issued Nostra Aetate of anti-Semitism? Because that's what you need to do at this rate. Are you really going to do that? I don't think so, pal. You have no basis. These people never know what the fuck they're talking about. And I love that there's a video to kind of like characterize this whole class of Catholic online. I don't like piety signalers. I don't get along with them. I don't like them, and they do not like me. And we're never going to get along. These mealy-mouthed, nasally, annoying little worms have a completely ahistorical view of Catholicism. And their Catholicism boils down to, guys, don't be mean to women and Jews. Don't be mean to women and Jews. Even though it's like we're not promoting actually being rude or actually being uncharitable. Of course we're not. That's a sin against charity. But it's like, to them, being mean is like telling, again, Morgan Ariel, hey, don't block the iconostasis with yourself in the picture. You're vain. Why are you putting yourself in front of the iconostasis? Your vanity is not going to be covered by your piety. Don't be mean to women, guys. You know, Jewish people will literally call us goyim and like insult Christ on the timeline on Twitter. And then it's like you get these little mealy-mouthed, freaks being like, why are you being mean to the Jewish people right now? Don't you understand that they're chosen? Don't you understand that they're the chosen people? And it's like, this guy is literally blaspheming Christ, dude. Can you try to like get on Team Catholic for a moment? Can you try to focus on Team Catholic and not on whatever like little freakish Discord server you and all your little gooner buddies hang out on? Thanks, but no thanks.
Moral authority, except obviously Scripture and God. This has been the case forever, but here's what Lumen Gentium, one of the foundational documents of the Catholic Church since 1964, says. In matters of faith and morals, the bishops speak in the name of Christ, and the faithful are to accept their teaching and adhere to it with a religious assent.
We all know what Lumen Gentium teaches, dude. Yeah, you have to obey the Pope. We all know that, okay? Let's try to keep up a little bit, pal. I love it. In fact, let me see if my comments under this video. Submit to the Pope. Surrender in mind and will to the Pope. Look at this guy. Surrender in mind and will to the Pope. Yeah, I commented nerd glasses emoji to that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. Keep my faith out of what, why, how. If you're watching, do me a favor, keep my faith out of your mouth. You're clearly not Catholic, dude. You don't know the first thing about Catholicism. So instead of acting like a subversive freak, why don't you crawl back to whatever side of bread tube you're from? You weird freak. Don't talk about my faith. Don't talk about our faith. Keep it out of your mouth. I love how these like bread tube freak. It's like Vosh that one time when he was on like the Surfs podcast talking about like Spexo a long time ago. This happened like 3 years ago, but they like made a video about Spexo and he's like, yeah, these are the kind of like tradcath guys that don't actually go to church and stuff like that. Dude, you literally have CP and animal pornography on your hard drive. Shut the fuck up. Do not comment on my faith, dude. You are literally a degenerate freak. I think you need to focus on getting your soul right with God before you can ever comment on anyone else's faith. It's so unbelievable. The arrogance of these left-wing people, I would just rather them say that they hate Catholicism because we actually represent what it teaches than try to pretend they're like, no, these guys, Catholicism is actually what those heckin' Latinxes that crawl over the border, that don't believe in half the church's teachings. That's actually true Catholicism. You know, where they get a big Our Lady of Guadalupe tattoo, but if I go up to them and ask, hey, what does Our Lady of Guadalupe mean? Oh, I don't know, man. And like, I use like contraception with my girlfriend and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think you're Catholic, pal. I don't care. I actually don't care that you just have a rosary hanging up in your car. That doesn't mean anything. You praying that rosary? Do you go to Mass? And even if you do go to Mass, do you actually believe everything the church teaches? If so, great, you're a brother in Christ. I've got zero issue with you. Welcome home, brother. Love you. But if you're, you know, Vosh, his conception of Catholicism is like some illegal immigrant that like uses contraception and like doesn't even believe in like half of what the Catholic Church teaches. That's like his conception of Catholicism. That's like this guy's conception of Catholicism. Catholicism is like heckin' about just like opening our borders and never having immigration laws ever. And also always just kowtowing to whatever Jews want us to do. Yeah, that's Catholicism. I don't remember reading that in the catechism, big guy. Yeah, last time I checked, I don't think I remember reading that in the catechism. Anything from Pope Leo, Pope Francis, Pope Benedict, you know, like just the entirety of our faith and what it's always going to teach. I don't think that pertains to the content of it. You want to do that stuff, dude? Go be Episcopalian. Go wave your like, go be like an ELCA Lutheran and wave your big rainbow flag outside your fake church. But don't pretend that you're Catholic. You're not. You're not on the team. So this guy, I'm not going to even waste time with it. This guy's going to waste his time, you know, quoting Pope Pius XII's document of migration. Real quick, I have a book that we need to download because it's very good for this content, but I'll show you it. We're just going to pull quotes from it, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Edward. So my one criticism of All One in Christ is that I think Ed does lean a little too much towards denying the value of race or denying the positive value of race. But I will say, if you do want a really good book on what the church teaches on like immigration, it's a solid book. It's honestly a really good book. I mean, it's like a really good quote mine and stuff like that of just like solid quotes from different popes on immigration being like, no, you actually don't have to allow millions of people like pour over the border into your country. And we're going to download it off Anna's archive real quick, just so I can like read you guys some of the quotes. But let's see here. Piety, I was reading the title of this video. Nuki McGroipface sent $3. Oh, also, sorry. So Agartha Massa earlier sent $3. You and every true Sullen chat are invited to Texas. And then there's a censored word, cookout. Love you, Pinesap. God bless. Well, hey, man, I love you too. God bless you. And then Nuki McGroipface sent $3. I spent the time doing a full critique comment of his video, and he was just stumbling over himself replying to me. They never have answers. All they have, all these like r/Catholicism types have is like piety signaling. It's not about them actually being right. It's just about, they'll just like lob like, well, that wasn't very charitable of you, was it? Get bent, dude. Get bent. Yeah, I'm going to show you my charity right now. Get bent. That's my charity, by the way. I get so tired of these people, man. Like, always the like, that wasn't very charitable, was it? Like, literally, I'm not even kidding. Like, some e-girl can, like, get done just having killed her baby. and literally be tweeting about it on the timeline like, yeah, guys, I heckin' love abortion and abortion's great and I just don't regret killing my child at all. And then someone like me will be like, you're disgusting and you need to repent, or honestly, you need to be locked in jail. And then you'll have these people come in, they're like, was that really charitable? Was that really a nice thing to do? Yeah, because I said it. Yeah, actually, it is nice to call sin for what it is and not stumble over myself because I think the girl's hot, like you do. That's literally like all those guys. Let's be just honestly so for real for a moment. Let's be so for real just for once. Sorry, I'm trying to find the book. Let's be so for real just for one second. I'm actually downloading it off Isidore's right now. Hopefully I can access it from... Heck yeah. Let's see if I can open this on Brave. But let's honestly be for real right now. Do you think like any of these guys would, and I'm not going to like go off forever on her or whatever, but like, you know how all these guys, like we talked about this before, but all these guys were the ones defending Nala Ray. And now she's like doing like a video of me. I'm doing a dance battle with Saint Mary Magdalene in heaven. And it's like, she's trying to like look all like saucy for the camera and stuff like that. Do you think if Nala Ray was like 300 pounds with a clubbed foot and like an ugly face, these guys would be defending her? No, they wouldn't. They only defend her because they have this vain hope that they're going to sleep with her. They have this vain hope that she's going to like text me, be like, King, I'm so proud of you. You defended me from the anonymous internet sexist. And I'm so proud of you. Okay, it's chapter 3. Heck yeah. 31. And we're not going to like read all the pages. We're just going to pull out like some quotes and stuff like that and kind of talk about it. But yeah, all these guys, literally every single one of these guys, like they like Nala Ray because she looks like an OnlyFans star. And they're probably buying OnlyFans. Let's be also for real. They're probably like paying for OnlyFans while being like, don't heckin' judge her, guys. Don't heckin' judge. Did you know that she's just like Saint Mary of Egypt? No, she actually isn't, because Saint Mary of Egypt was a beautiful, repentant woman who lived the rest of her life in asceticism, and she didn't create an Instagram to post TikTok dance battles of herself where, you know, she's got a quarter zip on and you know, just did her makeup just right. Why are you comparing the saints to holy women? I've never understood that. Like, do you not understand the level of blasphemy that is? You're literally saying that this saint of God, this beautiful saint of God who is in heaven praying for us right now, is the equivalent of some random e-girl dancing on TikTok? That is unbelievably irreverent, dude. Let's see here. The rights and duties of nations and immigrants. Okay, so let's see here. So that's against racism. So this from Memory and Identity by St. John Paul II. In his book, Memory and Identity, Pope St. John Paul II noted that citizens of the modern Western countries often have reservations about the notion of national identity as expressed through culture, and have even arrived at a stage which would be defined as post-identity. Man, if that ain't the truth, man. There is a widespread tendency to move towards supranational structures, even internationalism, with small nations allowing themselves to be absorbed into larger political structures. I mean, when Alex Jones or, you know, any other conservative commentator talks about globalism, this is the globalism that St. John Paul II is condemning, right? However, the Pope noted the disappearance of the nation would be contrary to the natural order of things as understood by the Church. Yet it still seems that the nation and native land, like the family, are permanent realities. In this regard, Catholic social doctrine speaks of natural societies, indicating that both the family and the nation have a particular bond with human nature, which has a social dimension. Every society's formation takes place in and through the family. Of this, there can be no doubt. Yet something similar could also be said about the nation. In particular, says the Pope, the nation and the cultural heritage that defines it cannot be replaced by mere political institutions or legal ties between people. The term nation designates a community based in a given territory and distinguished from other nations by its culture. Catholic social doctrine holds that the family and the nation are both natural societies, not the product of mere convention. Therefore, in human history, they cannot be replaced by anything else. For example, the nation cannot be replaced by the state, even though the nation tends to naturally to establish itself as a state. Still less is it possible to identify the nation with a so-called democratic society, since here it is a case of two distinct, albeit interconnected orders. Democratic society is closer to the state than it is the nation, yet the nation is the ground on which the state is born. Right? As St. John Paul II says, the nation must exist as a state. And as he goes on, right, the issue of democracy he goes on to say, the issue of democracy comes later in the area of the internal politics of the state. Right? So the nation is the foundation of everything. The nation is the foundation of all. Also, I'm banning this this guy. Yep. See you, bud. He's like, just answer one question about paganism. No, I'm good. Right? So if the nation is the foundation of the state, the nation has to be preserved. You can't preserve a nation without preserving the racial characteristic of that nation. If I take a bunch of Ethiopians and put them in Great Britain, the geographic boundaries of Great Britain, it doesn't make them British any less than it makes putting a bunch of British people in Ethiopia. That doesn't make them Ethiopian. And it's uncontroversial with these types for me to say that about like when it touches black people, but when it touches white people, well, no, white people don't. What even is white? And well, you remember that Irish people used to not be called white. That's the kind of shit that they pull. And it's completely ridiculous. It's just this like equivocation and trying to dance around the issue. Because I guarantee like someone like this would probably like moral fag and piety signal about like George Floyd, right? Like when George Floyd died and, it was BLM, Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, right? If I said, well, what even is black? I mean, there's Ethiopians, there's South Africans. Can we really identify being black? He would call me a racist. But then suddenly he feels the need to do that to white people. Oh, whiteness is just this made up thing and it's this abstract concept. Yeah, but if I say, oh, well, George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose and didn't die because of the cops. Oh, you're racist towards black people. Oh, what is black people, dude? Well, that just seems like a category in the mind. See the double standard there? Yeah, suddenly race is very real when it's not white people. But when it's white people, well, we just can never talk about it. And white people just have to let everybody in. So St. John Paul II goes on to say, he says, thus patriotic attachment remains, today no less than in the past, something to which the nation has a right to. The Pope writes, if we ask where patriotism appears in the Decalogue, the reply comes without hesitation. It is covered by the fourth commandment, which obliges us to honor our father and mother. It is included under the umbrella of the Latin term pietas, which underlines the religious dimension of the respect and veneration due to parents. Patriotism is a love for everything to do with our native land, its history, its traditions, its language, and its natural features. It is a love which extends also to the works of our compatriots and the fruits of their genius. Every danger that threatens the overall good of our native land becomes an occasion to demonstrate this love. Wow. That's crazy, right? So he's establishing this as the foundation of a nation. So we haven't really gotten into immigration a ton, but we're just kind of talking. And Phaser goes on with a couple other quotes or whatever. We'll kind of brush past those just for the sake of time. But we've established what a nation is in Catholic theology. It's not just a state. It's not just like a social compact. It is a very real and distinct group of people. A race, right? It's a race. A nation is a race. If a nation is not a race, then what is a nation? It's nothing. Your race is your nation, and your nation is your race. And if you're not doing things to preserve that, you are sinning, right? Now, there can be sinful means of trying to preserve that, and we'll get into that, of course, right? And this is where we make important distinctions. But it is not a sin to fight for your race. It's a duty, actually. This is what St. John Paul II makes clear. And a nation can, of course, have multiple races in it. But if the characteristic of that nation, the racial makeup of that nation no longer existed, it wouldn't be that nation anymore. If America fails to be supermajority white, it's not America anymore. It's a different country entirely. In line, about making a distinction here, and it's kind of talking about like the abuse of nationalism or what have you. In line with this traditional teaching, the Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church affirms that though nations must exclude every abuse of basic human rights, and particularly the oppression of minorities, of course, that goes without saying, a nation has a fundamental right to existence, to its own language and culture through which a people expresses and promotes its fundamental spiritual sovereignty, to shape its life according to its own traditions, and to build its future by providing an appropriate education for the younger generation. Right? The right has implications for minority communities. In the encyclical Pacem in Terris, Pope St. John the 23rd insisted that nations treat minority ethnic communities justly, especially in what concerns their language, culture, ancient traditions, and their economic activity and enterprise. But he also cautioned that minority communities have an obligation to respect and to integrate into the culture of the larger nation within which they reside. He wrote, "It is worth noting, however, that these minority groups, in reaction perhaps to the enforced hardships of their present situation or to historical circumstances, frequently tend to magnify unduly characteristics proper to their own people. They even rate them above those human values which are common to all mankind, as though the good of the entire human family should subserve the interests of their own particular groups." Wow, that's kind of like the Viva La Raza guys who literally burned down LA. Oh man, like we're Mexican. Oh, but we're like also Catholic too. So like you have to like let us burn down your city, bro. Because it'd be like a sin against charity if we didn't. Yeah, get bent, buddy. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And also you're not Catholic too. Can we just be honest? The Viva La Raza guys are not Catholic. That's cool that you're Mexican. That we aren't Jewish, okay? You're not born a Catholic. You either are a Catholic in the way that you live and believe the faith, or you're not. I do not give a flying fuck that you were baptized. You have to actually live out your faith. These people just think that it's like the waters of baptism fall on their head and it just means they're magically Catholic forever. It's like, yes, you have the indelible mark of baptism. Nobody's denying that, but your faith is something that is lived. It's not something that you just say, well, dude, I was like born this way, so that just means I'm like always this way no matter what. That's not how that works, pal. Not how that works at all. A more reasonable attitude for such people is to adopt what would be to recognize the advantages too, which accrue to them from their own special situation. They should realize that their constant association with a people steeped in a different civilization from their own has no small part to play in the development of their own particular genius and spirit. Little by little, they can absorb into the very being those virtues which characterize the other nation. But for this to happen, these minority groups must enter into some kind of association with the people in whose midst they are living, and learn to share their customs and way of life. it will never happen if they sow seeds of disaffection, which can only produce a harvest of evils, stifling the political development of nations. Right? And then, of course, we have, we all know CCC 2241. I'm just going to leave that for now, since, I mean, that's very easy to look up. And I think we're all very familiar with what the Catechism says in that, that paragraph. So I'll just leave that for now. Right? But, you know, caring for political refugees and stuff like that. Look, I've always said it this way. When the popes comment on immigration, what they're saying is, like, when people come to your border, like, you know, like women and children and stuff like that, you're not going to take like a machine gun and gun people down. That's completely a sin against that's completely a sin against charity. That's disgusting and repulsive, right? No Christian would promote that. That's what they're condemning and speaking out against. But if you find a situation where it's like, okay, we send these people back to where they come from, that's not unjust and that's not a sin against charity. People really like can't seem to kind of like make this distinction. It either has to be this sort of like just, oh, we need to allow like everyone to come here, or we need to like just kind of like have like no borders, or if we don't allow everyone to come here, then that means we just like we hate everybody, right? We hate everybody and we're like actual racists or whatever. That's not the case at all, right? It's not the case at all, right? So even Pope Francis, who would speak on this issue all the time, what does he say here? Those who arrive are duty bound not to close themselves off, from the culture and traditions of the receiving country, respecting above all its laws. And he has acknowledged the presence of migrants and refugees seriously challenges the various societies which accept them. Those societies are faced with new situations which could create serious hardship unless they are suitably motivated, managed, and regulated. Well, it's almost like it's almost like when Wignats freak out because the Pope is like, hey, literally just don't kill people. Don't like starve people to death or kill them or dehumanize them. And they're like, the Catholic Church is like the biggest anti-white organization in the world. It's almost like the Pope completely fucking makes them look like idiots and shows, oh, actually, it's just saying be a decent human being. Just have a basic sense of humanity and like don't mistreat people. That's the teaching of the church. It's not, you can't literally have borders and literally not have a nation. Right? That's just not the case. That's never been the case. And I would love if people actually did their research instead of having like Avril, you know, talk out his ass about like, well, I studied Catholicism and I was Catholic for X amount of years or whatever. And I know what the church teaches. No, you do not, dude. This is like the Wignat equivalent of I went to Catholic high school. So I'm a regular old St. Thomas Aquinas. I went to Catholic high school, guys. I'm basically St. Thomas Aquinas. Yeah, I didn't realize that getting like a subpar education at a school that's Catholic means that you're suddenly the angelic doctor. Forgive my ignorance. I didn't realize I was in the presence of such a high, big-brained individual. Unbelievable, man. Similarly, in 2001, Pope John Paul II acknowledged that even highly developed countries are not always able to assimilate all those who emigrate, and that while the church strongly affirms the right to emigrate, certainly the exercise of such a right is to be regulated because practicing it indiscriminately may do harm and be detrimental to the common good of the community that receives the migrant. In 1995, he emphasized the need for the need to welcome migrants, to take account of the dangerous circumstances that they are sometimes fleeing, and to avoid all racist and xenophobic attitudes. At the same time, he acknowledged that migration is assuming the features of a social emergency, above all because of the increase of illegal migrants. That's his own text. And that the problem is delicate and complex. He affirmed that illegal immigration should be prevented, and that one reason it is problematic is that the supply of foreign labor is becoming excessive in comparison to the needs of the economy, which already has difficulty in absorbing its domestic workers. Well, it's like how so many of us can't get a job because of H-1B, bro. It's crazy. It's like so many of us can't get a job because of H-1B, and the Pope's literally speaking on that right now. It's kind of crazy how he like almost preemptively knew that this would happen. You know what I mean? Like he almost preempted and knew that like something like this was going to occur. It's insane, man. You know? It's crazy. Let's see here. In some cases, it may be necessary to advise migrants to seek acceptance in other countries or to return to their own country. Remigration. As Pope Francis has said, as nations work together to address the plight of migrants, quote, it must also be emphasized that such cooperation begins with efforts of each country to create better economic and social conditions at home so that emigration will not be the only option left for those who seek peace, justice, security, and full respect of their human dignity. The creation of opportunities for employment in the local economies will also avoid the separation of families and ensure that individuals and groups enjoy conditions of stability and serenity. Right? So literally it's like, and he goes on, Ed goes on to quote St. Thomas Aquinas. He says, let's see. Do I love Nick? Yeah, I do. St. Thomas Aquinas teaches, Augustine says, since one cannot do good to all, we ought to consider those chiefly who by reason of place, time, or any other circumstance, by a kind of chance are more closely united to us. Now, the order of nature is such that every natural agent pours forth its activity first and all on the things which are nearest to it. Oh, did it get cut off? No. Okay, we're good. But it's just super zoomed in. I was like confused. I was like, why is the text so big? But the bestowal of benefits is an act of charity towards others. Therefore, we ought to be most beneficent towards those of us who are closely connected with us. Now, one man's connection with another may be measured in reference to the various matters in which men are engaged together. Thus, the intercourse of kinsmen is in natural matters, that of fellow citizens is in civic matters, that of faithful is in spiritual matters, and so forth. And various benefits should be conferred in various ways according to these various connections. Because we ought in preference to bestow on each one such benefits as pertain to the matter in which, speaking simply, he is most connected with us. For it must be understood that, other things being equal, one ought to succor those rather who are most closely connected with us. You literally have a duty to have charity, most especially towards those mostly connected to you. That's why, like, you have to focus most on evangelizing your own family before you can go and evangelize the entire world, right? That's why you need to focus on evangelizing your nation before you can go evangelize the entire world. That's why you need to do what's right by your nation first, and then you can help the entire world. St. Thomas Aquinas right there completely destroys suicidal empathy. The same suicidal empathy that like a lot of women vote for and stuff like that is completely destroyed by the angelic doctor there. Because he's saying, look, you have a duty to preserve your nation and your country and care for it. And it's not an act of charity when you bring a bunch of migrants in and they completely disrupt and destroy your nation. This is Catholicism. And so this chucklehead doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He just quotes one document about being generally nice and respecting the dignity of migrants, and then suddenly takes that and says, oh, you just need to like have this undue level of suicidal empathy for these people, completely betray your race, completely betray your people, and never have any pride in who you are. And per usual, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. SOG posted in chat even a quote from our Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, that he actually spoke recently this year. I thank God for those Christians, Eastern and Latin alike, who, above all in the Middle East, persevere and remain in their homelands, resisting the temptation to abandon them. That was an audience from May 15th, 2025. It's very clear what the church teaches. In fact, St. John Paul II has an even stronger quote, right? Has an even stronger quote that I'm going to pull up right here. It's on Wagner's account. Let's see here. Come on, where is this? John Paul II. It's on abortion. Bro, why is... I swear, the Twitter search function is like the worst thing in the entire world. It's just terrible, dude. Let's see here. I think it's on my I think it's on my Telegram, actually. I found it. Dude. That's crazy. It is the... Let me pull this up. Okay, let me pull this up. Hold up. Sorry, gang. I remembered it while we were streaming, so I didn't have it like readily available on me. But now we do. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Let me pull this up. Here we go. That's crazy. I just found the quote. I mean, honestly, like this quote I'm about to read, if you said to one of these like guys, like, oh, what do you think of this quote that I just said, right? What do you think of this quote that I just said? I do think that they would literally say, oh, that's like some 14 words type stuff. That must be like the 14 words. That can't be said by a pope. That can't be said by by the church or what have you. But this address was an apostolic address that St. John Paul II had. And here's what he has to say. And this is crazy. I mean, this is literally like race realism. A presupposition of a nation's rights is certainly its right to exist. Therefore, no one, neither a state nor another nation, nor an international organization, is ever justified in asserting that an individual nation is not worthy of existence. This fundamental right to exist does not necessarily call for sovereignty as a state, since various forms of juridical aggregation between different nations are possible, as, for example, in federal states and confederations, or in states characterized by broad regional autonomies. There can be historical circumstances in which aggregations different from single state sovereignty can even prove advisable, but only on condition that this takes place in a climate of true freedom, guaranteed by the exercise of the self-determination of the peoples concerned. Its right to exist naturally implies that every nation also enjoys the right of its own language and culture, through which a people expresses and promotes that which what I call its fundamental spiritual sovereignty. History shows that in extreme circumstances, such as those which occurred in the land I was born, Poland, it is precisely its culture that enables a nation to survive the loss of political and economic independence. Every nation, therefore, also has a right to shape its life according to its own traditions, excluding, of course, every abuse of basic human rights, and particularly the oppression of minorities. Every nation has a right to build its future by providing an appropriate education for the younger generation. Dude, I mean, like, and I was trying to see if there was like another, if there was another quote that was kind of like, pertaining to this theme here. That's fine. I think we got the main meat of it. But do you see what I'm saying here? Do you see kind of what I'm getting at with these people? They just hear immigration and they instantly think, well, no, you can never have your own nation. You can never have your own race, your own people, your own distinct identity. You just need to let in millions of immigrants and millions of migrants, let them take over the country, let them just absolutely rape the country and make it completely different. And that's not what the church teaches. Race is a fundamental value of the human family. It's a fundamental value of the human family. And anything that harms that value is contrary to the will of God. Someone referenced it in chat. Pope Pius XI literally teaches that in Mitbrenner Sorge. By the way, the document that was condemning the excesses of the Nazis. So if this guy wants to retort with, but the Nazis though, well, congratulations. The same document that condemns their excesses also literally says what I just stated. Race is a fundamental value of the human family. If you negate that, you are sinning against God's will and you are sinning against Catholic teaching. This guy is sinning right now. So if he is Catholic, he is in a state of mortal sin by affirming error.
United States of America, the country we're talking about, to accept refugees, who anyone familiar with history knows included a great many Jewish refugees, because, and this is from the church, the natural law itself, no less than devotion to humanity, urges the ways of a large number of people. Well, I just played you the video of Nick Fuentes himself saying people shouldn't be denied entry based on any consideration of their moral character, but simply on the color of their skin. And for the wealth of the United States, Nick Fuentes said just a couple days ago from when I'm recording this that we should ignore the economic impact of deportations, even enough forbidden by the opposite viewpoint. In case Fuentes has loyalty, except in a Twitter space. The debate got onto the subject.
Yeah, why is it bad to ignore the but the economy though? I care about the economy serves people. We have fundamentally forgotten that. The economy serves people, we don't serve the economy. So if the economy gets damaged because we have deportations and we say, actually, we're not allowing any more immigrants here anymore. Cool. I don't care. We could go through the worst recession we've ever experienced, and I do not care. I want America to be America. I want my country to be what it has always been. And if that means that the economy has to suffer, so frickin' be it, dude. I don't care.
Of whether Fuentes' proposed Catholic theocracy lined up with America's foundation as a constitutional republic. Here's the clip.
You acknowledge that your point of view is fundamentally anti-American. From the founding fathers, the framers,
100%. Americanism is a heresy in the Catholic Church. You know that if you do fucking anything.
Okay, so why the fuck are you even in this country? Why not go fucking live in Rome or go fucking live in the Catholic Vatican or go live in fucking prehistoric wherever the fuck? Why be in the United States and try to change this into some theocratic regime when that's not fundamentally what the country's about?
We want to make it better. We want to improve it.
You don't want to make it better. You want to destroy the country. Like, you understand. The funny thing is, you are like, as
You're
bad
literally
or
a
worse than the
you're
Jewish
literally a
invaders that you
twice the word
accuse
defending
of
your
trying to
kids.
destroy the
I'm
country.
destroying the country.
You are overtly saying that you want to run it as a theocratic regime, that you want religion and God to be the number one
Yes,
thing we answer to, and not the Constitution.
yes,
Yeah, so you're
yes.
worse.
Now, if you're not familiar with the history
That is the most fucking stupid thing I've ever heard fall out of Destiny's mouth. That guy says a lot of stupid shit, but honestly, that's got to take the fucking cake. I love when people bring this up. Like James Anderson White, that guy used to always bring this up. And, you know, all these like Protestant anti-Catholic guys always bring this up. Well, you understand America was not found as a Catholic nation. Yeah, dumbass, I do know that. And that's actually why it's a big problem. It is a big problem that America isn't Catholic. That's why we have to convert America. People tend to think that America first means I just like whatever has happened within this nation at any point in time, or that I have to just worship the founding. That's not what America first means. America first means doing what is best for this nation, what is spiritually best for this nation. That is the highest, greatest good we can do for America. Catholicism is the true faith. It is the true religion founded by God. That means that the spiritual best of America means making it Catholic. I don't have any particular reverence for the founding fathers. If the founding documents and the founding fathers can aid us in that mission, great. I'm not going to throw them out. I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. But when you have these fucking idiots like Destiny always bringing up, but the Constitution, but the way that this nation was founded, do I care? Rome was a pagan nation. Rome was not even a pagan nation, a pagan empire. Could you imagine like Roman pagans being like, dude, you're trying to make Rome Catholic? Bro, Rome's pagan, man. That's the founding of Rome. You can never make it Catholic. And guess what? We run everything now. Our religion is literally in the heart of Rome. That is the capital of our faith now. That's the capital of our faith, Rome. Right? So if we converted an entire empire, what is a small nation like America compared to literally one of the greatest empires on the face of the earth? Nothing. Peanuts. Putting America first means doing what is spiritually best for this country. It doesn't mean worshiping it. It doesn't mean I'm just going to like glaze it and just everything that ever happened in our history is awesome and I need to celebrate it. No, doing what is best for America is converting America. And if that makes me anti-American according to Destiny or according to the Wignats or according to like, you know, the Protestant guys like James Anderson White, so be it. I'm anti-American then. And I say that knowing that I want the ultimate best for America, which is its salvation. I want the salvation of America. I don't want to save what America was. I want to build what America can be. Let me say that one more time. I don't want to save what America was. I want to build what America could be. And America can be a greater nation than even that what she was at her founding. But the only thing that's going to get it there is if we accept and worship God. If we fall at God's feet and we love him and have devotion to him. That's the only thing that's going to make this country great. This country will never be great if we just worship the Constitution, we worship the founding fathers. There are saints. The Constitution might as well be our Bible, and George Washington is like the incarnation of liberty. They're not God. Jesus Christ is God, and I worship Jesus Christ. And any document or history that doesn't serve him, I'm not really that interested in it. So that's a dumbass argument on the part of Destiny. Guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But you know, when you get pressed with like, you know, rape charges or whatever, you tend to not really be thinking with a full full can of worms upstairs.
Americanism doesn't mean American nationalism. Americanism was a perceived social and religious divergence from Europe's Catholic Church among American Catholics in the late 1800s. In fact, here's what Pope Leo said. These dangers veil us at the confounding of license with liberty, the passion for discussing and pouring contempt upon any possible subject, the assumed right that there is now a great 1800s the view was American Catholics were too liberal. But obviously Nick Fuentes' viewpoints are even farther from the Catholic Church. He's got his own heretical Americanism, doesn't he then? So there's obviously a contradiction, one between Catholicism and whatever Nick Fuentes believes. The Catholic Church teaches us that we should be, nice to people. We should be kind to people, especially the needy, and immigrants are, in fact, needy. But there's also an obvious contradiction between Catholicism and...
We should be nice. There's that word again. The religion of nice. There's that word I just love so much, nice. Do you know what nice means? It means absolutely nothing. Nice does not denote any quality. Being kind denotes quality. Being compassionate denotes a certain quality. Being nice is meaningless. Being nice is being acceptable to the cultural standards that you're living under. Sure, in a Catholic society, being nice can mean a lot. We don't live in a Catholic society. We live in a secular atheist society. Or not even atheist, like agnostic, right? We live in a secular, agnostic, liberal society where being nice means like completely accepting every sin there is, every debaucherous, degenerate sin there is, and never speaking out against evil. No, Catholics are called to be kind and compassionate, and part of being kind and compassionate is calling sin for what it is. It's a cancer. And the world doesn't see that as nice. So already, just from that guy using that word, you can completely tell that his conception of Catholicism is it's the religion, the Antichrist. I'm going to be that bold. This guy believes in the religion of the Antichrist. He doesn't believe in Catholicism. Jesus was kind. He was compassionate. Jesus was not nice. Do you think the Pharisees thought that our Lord was nice when he took a whip of cords and he whipped him out of his father's house? Do you think Jesus was considered nice when he said, "As for my enemies, bring them here before me and slaughter them"? Was Jesus nice when he said, "Go and sell your cloak and buy a sword"? No. He was kind. He was compassionate. He was loving the entire time. Our Lord always has been and always will be because he is the incarnation of love. But he was not nice. Nice does not mean anything. Nice is tolerant and tepid, and nice is indifferent. And that's none of what Jesus is, and that's not what the religion that he founded is.
American nationalism, isn't there? When it comes to considering the constitutional foundations of America, Fuentes sides with his view of Catholicism instead. But when it comes to the obvious Catholic teaching repeated by Pope after Pope after Pope of treating all human beings, even ethnic minorities, with dignity and love because we are all created by God, well, in that case, Fuentes picks nationalism. Otherwise, he wouldn't support deporting ethnic minorities from their home because his perception of their disloyalty. Does Fuentes ever have to deal with this contradiction? Here's an example. When Jared Taylor called Pope Francis a traitor because he was sympathetic to immigrants, Fuentes said,
It's like, okay, sorry, the Pope isn't a white nationalist. Sorry, the Pope isn't like a Confederate. Like, I'm sorry. And don't get me wrong. I don't agree with the Pope on mass migration, but it does need to be considered that he is speaking for humanity as a whole and not necessarily the United States or even Europe for that matter. He's speaking for humanity as a whole. Now, you may disagree with that as a white person, and I certainly do, but this is a planet with a lot of poor brown people in it. It's just the truth.
So Fuentes himself admits that Catholicism has a more moderate view on immigration than he does, but he still wants to deport citizens, which is an immense contradiction, an immense violation of the moral teachings of the Catholic Church. Based off what Fuentes said in his debate with Destiny, Fuentes is himself a heretic. He's not a good Catholic. So to put it clearly, Nick Fuentes doesn't actually want a Catholic theocracy, because if he did,
you are in no position, motherfucker, to be telling anyone who is a good Catholic and who isn't a good Catholic. Let's get that fucking straight for a moment. Shut your big fat mouth. You are in no position to be throwing that term out. I think we've well established this on this stream already. The 2 hours I've been watching this slop, I think we've already established you are in no position to be talking about who is and isn't Catholic. You don't even know what the Catholic Church teaches, dude. It took a Google search for me to disprove you. It took a literal Google search for me to disprove you.
To treat immigrants and non-white people with love. He's putting what he imagines to be the interest of America above morality, as defined by the Catholic Pope and the religion of Catholicism. Fuentes defined himself as a Catholic nationalist, an American nationalist, and a white nationalist. But these things are in contradiction. Nick Fuentes just picks and chooses between Catholicism and American nationalism to support his true ideological foundation, which is white supremacy. But Fuentes is Hispanic. Obviously, his last name is Fuentes, which he insists on pronouncing Fuentes. I don't know why he does that. His dad is Mexican. Well, according to Fuentes, his dad is half Mexican, but judging from a 23andMe that Nick Fuentes himself showed of himself, the Mexican heritage is pretty resilient. Fuentes is nearly 15% indigenous, which means his dad is probably 30% indigenous at least. So either he is half Mexican and the Mexican half is very Mexican, or maybe Fuentes is lying a little bit. What's my point with all this? Well, Nick Fuentes is LARPing as a Catholic. He's LARPing as an American.
This guy, when we win, there's one of two things. This guy is either like an insecure brown guy. Let's just be blunt. This guy's an insecure brown guy. Like I can hear the shakiness in his voice, the nasally shakiness in his voice. He's not even white. He's probably whiter than you, dude. Let's see a picture of you. Are you white? I don't think you are. And if you are, you literally will be a goy slave. You will be a goy slave when we win. Not literally. I'm just kidding around. I'm just joking about that. That's just completely a joke. But like, people like this will hold this. I'm not kidding around about. People like this guy will hold zero political power when we win. I want to make that abundantly clear. When we win, people like this won't have the right to vote. They will have zero political power. This guy, I would not trust this guy to issue my McDonald's order, let alone cast a vote at the ballot box. I do not trust this guy to fulfill my Shake Shack order, to do my DoorDash for me, let alone cast a ballot for who should run this country. People like this will not vote when we're in power.
Patriot, and he's LARPing as a white guy. He's the product of the very thing he is campaigning against, Mexican immigration to America. But for some reason, Hispanic and Italian-American nationalists like Fuentes want to lift the ladder up behind them and spit in the face of their immigrant ancestors who suffered from the same discrimination in their day that Fuentes is marshalling today. He literally sells the anti-Catholic, know-nothing party flag in his store.
Dude.
So if Fuentes wants to deport ethnic minorities with dual loyalties, he should start with himself.
You mean like how when someone super chatted about that and he literally said, we conquered that symbol and that symbol is ours now, bitch? Do you mean that? Do you mean that flag? Yeah, he literally, Nick got super chatted about that flag because, that's historically where the flag's from. And he's like, we conquered that flag. It's ours now. We've adopted it. Protestants lost. How badass is that? We're taking your symbol and it's ours now, buddy. It's ours. Protestants lost, dude. It's our symbol now. Well, the guy who started the Know Nothings wasn't even Protestant. He was Jewish, but it's our symbol now. We own it. You lost. Thanks for playing. That is badass, dude. That is awesome. That is so unbelievably goated. This guy is just sad because I'm sure his girlfriend, his Discord girlfriend, probably gets conquered. Unlike us conquering symbols, his girlfriend probably gets conquered by like black men every other night. So I think that's where a little bit of the frustration comes from. I would be pretty upset too if I had to sit in the Hilton cuck seat and watch my girlfriend get conquered by her boyfriend, right? His wife's boyfriend gets to conquer his girl every single night. So I think he's just a little bit jealous because of that. I totally understand, have complete compassion on this guy, man. That's tough.
But it is, of course, not enough to show that Nick Fuentes' views are hypocritical and contradictory. We have to also show why they are incorrect on their own. Let's start with Nick Fuentes' most controversial belief, the one that everybody cares about, which is the idea that Jewish people control America. Now, I'm kind of wary to play Nick Fuentes' clips about this issue, otherwise this video might get shut down.
I have a question for you guys. Just a quick poll in chat. Do you want me to try and debunk this half of the video, or should we just go the art Chad stuff? Because I feel like the art Chad stuff's kind of more important and stuff like that. We kind of know Jews run everything. This guy's not going to pull up anything that's going to be like, whoa, I never knew that, right? It's going to be like, well, Jews run everything. Why is there this non-Jewish guy as the head of a company? That's literally always the argument, right? So either I can go to Art Chad's videos and we can start talking about his content, or I can react to the rest of this. Just let me know what you guys want to do in chat. Chat stuff, we know it already. Finish the video? Okay, I'll finish the video.
But I'll just show some titles of his videos and you can get the sense of what he believes. Nick Fuentes points out that there are Jewish people in business and media. That is true. He points out that Jewish people lobby politicians. That's true. He points out that Jewish people organize groups, some of which become influential, which is true. To deny the existence of the Anti-Defamation League or the World Jewish Congress would be insane. So what's the issue? Well, all of this applies to all sorts of other interest groups. Nick Fuentes says multiple times that his beef with Jewish people is their supposed dual loyalty to Israel, which he treats as the Jewish mothership. So let's look at lobbying for Israel, including both foreign lobbying and domestic lobbying from American supporters of Israel. If you look at the data from trackapac.com, which is staunchly anti-Israel, you get more than $250 million spent in the 2023 to 2024 election cycle. That doesn't just include AIPAC, but other pro-Israel lobbying organizations in America, including the Republican Jewish Coalition and Miriam Adelson's Preserve America PAC. Now that is obviously a lot of money, but in the 2024 election, candidates raised nearly $2 billion. Actually, scratch that. That's only presidential candidates. According to the FEC, congressional candidates collected another $3.8 billion on top of that. Political parties received $2.7 billion, political action committees raised $15.7 billion, and independent expenditures totaled $4.4 billion. There might be some risk of double counting, so let's do a conservative estimate of more than $20 billion spent in the 2023 to 2024 election cycle. Now, $250 million to support Israel is a lot of money, but that's about 1% of the money spent in the 23 to 24 election cycle. Obviously, U.S.
What the fuck is your point? Well, there was a lot of money spent. Okay, yeah, that's how the economy and politics works. So just because it's like a percentage of that suddenly means, well, it's not like it's 50%. And here's the thing. This is the classic tactic that a lot of these guys do to debunk the Jewish hold over America. They'll always do this thing. Oh, there's other interest groups. Oh, well, that's only 1% of this large figure or whatever. That is not smart. That is midwit thinking. Here's the problem with that, okay? Those other interest groups do not hold the level of political Iron Manning that Jews do. Do you know why TikTok got banned? It wasn't because of Chinese spies. It wasn't because, that TikTok is tracking your phone or something. That's not why it got banned. It got banned because of anti-Semitism. That's why they banned the app, dude. And Trump forced it to be sold to somebody else. It got banned because it affected Jews. Why are we involved in every single war that Israel... Well, not even their wars. We just wage war for them. Do you understand that? They did nothing during the Iraq war. Oh, maybe they sent a couple troops. Wow, what did he fucking do, dude? We literally were heading up the front and taking down that country for them. They got us involved in the Iraq war using 9/11, which they did, by the way. If that isn't political control, I don't know what is. Dude, go and literally, I'm not kidding. So this guy is a lefty, but he is good at this topic. Go and watch any GDF video. Any GDF video about Israel. It's 5 seconds. Any one of these. Genocide in Gaza, Israel in movies, and stuff like that. And it becomes immediately apparent how much of a vestige of control they hold over our entire society. You using the figure of, this is the total amount spent. Yeah, that's like operational costs, even if that's just lobbying or whatever, fine, who cares? It's enough, and it's enough control that it does influence our politics. I don't care if it's 1%. They get, Patrick said it in chat, they get everything they want. That 1% still manages to influence 99% of our politics.
Elections are influenced by that $250 million, but specifically because there is no money in the opposite direction. There's no Palestinian lobby, for example. So on the specific issue of U.S. relations with Israel, the pro-Israel lobby in America is very influential. But that's not sufficient to prove that Jewish people rule America, because everything else that happens. Let's click through OpenSecrets.org for a minute. In 2023 and 2024 both, the pharmaceutical industry spent nearly $400 million for a total of nearly $800 million. Politicians meanwhile raised $1.8 billion from the securities and investment industry in the 2023 to 2024 cycle. You can look at this yourself. It's not secret information.
Who owns the pharmaceutical? Who owns the pharmaceutical industry? Do we want to get into that conversation? This guy is such a fucking midwit. it like actually, it's giving me, guys, I am going to get like a stage 4 cancer diagnosis after this stream with how much cancer this guy is giving me. Do you understand Jewish people own the pharmacy industry as well? I love how in him attempting to debunk, no guys, Jews don't run everything. Let me point to a completely Jewish controlled industry that literally dumps millions into American politics. That's crazy. Wow, dude, you debunked us. Congratulations, pal. You really showed us, man. I guess they don't control our politics. You know, the Jewish run pharmaceutical companies, they just pour so much money in that I guess our politics aren't run that way.
On that industry, you can see the specific people. That $1.8 billion includes $200 million from Timothy Mellon alone. You might recognize that name. Mr. Mellon gave another $130 million to the government to pay soldiers during the shutdown, i.e. downfall of the Roman Republic shit. The Mellon dynasty, whose patriarch was the businessman turned booming 20s Secretary of the Treasury, Andrew Mellon, isn't Jewish, by the way, but Scots Irish. Now, obviously $250 million from the pro-Israel lobby is a lot of money. Timothy Mellon alone spent more. Is this enough evidence to say there is a Hibernian conspiracy to puppeteer America from the Irish? I mean, just look at the facts. Irishmen have controlled the Federal Reserve for decades.
Oh, the classic, oh, dude, there's Irish people, so that means it's just like when you talk about the Jew. Here's the funny thing. Do all those Irish people get together and, you know, send millions of dollars to the state of Ireland every single year? And do we have a giant Irish lobby that can... Dude, I wish we had an Irish lobby. Could you imagine if this country was run by an Irish lobby instead of a Jewish lobby? It'd be Catholic, dude. That literally would be our dream. That would be our dream right there. We would have an Irish Catholic mafia lobby running this bitch. But we don't, and that's the problem, dude.
Are a substantial portion of U.S. businessmen Irish, but half the presidents were at least partially Irish. If I were some sort of anti-Irish nationalist, maybe I'd blame Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, both with Irish heritage, for the Civil Rights Act and the Immigration Act, both of which Nick Fuentes hates. Let's take a look at the largest single donors of the 2024 election cycle. Wow, who would have guessed? At the top is Elon Musk with nearly $300 million. I wonder if that had any influence over whether SpaceX received government contracts, or whether Elon Musk had a...
You mean Elon Musk that talks about going to Hebrew school and then also supports the state of Israel and then is also completely supportive of Jews and often speaks out against anti-Semitism and supports the H-1B program that they also support? You mean that Elon Musk? Timothy Mellon. Let's look up Timothy Mellon's views on Israel real quick. I know he's not Jewish, but... Timothy Mellon. I swear we're going to find something, dude. It's going to be crazy. No, I do not want to pay for The Guardian, dude. Timothy Mellon is clean. You won't find anything. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. That's fair. I didn't know if he supported Israel or something like that. I was waiting for him to like give a like, they're our greatest ally and that's why we need to send him millions of dollars. I knew he wasn't Jewish, but I didn't know but like in Elon Musk's case, right? Like Elon is completely bought and sold by the Jews, right? He's completely bought and sold by the Jews. So it's like, okay, like your best is a Shabbos goy, bro. So what are we disproving here? Like there's goys that support Israel and support the interests of Jews. Wow, you really debunked us, man.
literal position in the White House. Musk isn't Jewish, by the way. Then we have Timothy Mellon, we talked about him, but after him is Miriam Adelson, who is in fact Israeli-American. But then we have the Uline duo with nearly the same amount, and you haven't heard of them, have you? They're sure as hell not Jewish, by the way, since the Uline patriarch, Edgar, was on the National Finance Committee of the John Birch Society, a conspiracy-brained arch-conservative group from the 1960s that didn't really like Jewish people very much. Rather than saying Jews control America, as Nick Fuentes says, it makes much more sense after looking at the actual data to say that billionaires have massive influence over politicians, and some of those billionaires are Jewish. Now the reason Nick Fuentes focuses on Jewish influence is because he
billionaires with Jewish last names. So that's the new angle we're running. First we had what was it? Wasn't it like it was Tucker who he's like, oh, it's all these companies, right? It's the companies running everything. And then now we have Steven Crowder saying it's secular humanists with Jewish last names. Now we have it's billionaires with Jewish last names. So, when there's Jews around, no, it's just always that it just happens to end up that way by circumstance. This tiny population, it's like 3% of the entire United States that just exercises massive influence and is predominantly overrepresented in like every industry that exercises influence on the consciousness of American people. No, they just happen to have Jewish last names, man.
Jewish people are disloyal to America. Let's address that claim. If we go to the Pew Research Center, we can find
they are
data from February 2024 that breaks up U.S. support and opposition to Israel by the demographics of the respondents. If you listen to Nick Fuentes, you might assume that nearly all Jewish Americans strongly supported providing military aid to Israel during its campaign against Hamas in Gaza. Actually, the number was 56% strongly support. And there was another 18% somewhat in favor for a total of 74%. Now that's a big percentage, but let's look at white evangelical Protestants, 38% strongly support, and another 23% somewhat favor for a total of 61%. That means Jewish people only support a Jewish state 13% more than white evangelical Protestants.
It's only 13% more. Remember, the white evangelical Protestants that, by the way, Israel literally pays their churches to brainwash them. By the way, there's an entire lobbying industry that pays their pastors and pays their churches to literally brainwash them. Well, it's only 13% less than the Jewish community in America. What a fucking joke, man. This is like so bad.
Conservatives. Now that's of course a category that overlaps with evangelicals and America's small Jewish population around 1 to 2%, but in general, 36% of conservatives strongly favor giving Israel military aid and 24% somewhat favor for a total of 60%. You see what I'm getting at there? Let's look at Jewish political affiliation in general. If Jewish people were some special class of people who had different interests from the rest of America, then surely we'd see some sort of weird data, right? Around 69% of Jewish people were Democrat or lean Democrat, and 29% Republican or lean Republican in 2024. And the number fluctuates around, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but that's around what it is. That means Jewish Americans are just about as liberal as people unaffiliated with a religion, but they're less liberal than atheist people and agnostic people, and they're also less liberal than black Protestants. But here's one additional factor we should maybe consider in this equation.
So you're saying that they support subversive ideas like homosexuality and transgenderism and pornography and mass migration and basically every liberal social value that, Nick and us speak out against. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, you really showed me, pal. You really debunked me, dude. Honestly, what's this guy's name? What, why, how? What, why, how won, bro? He just showed that we're stupid chuds that just, we sit in our parents' basements all day and we just don't know any better. We just don't know any better. His big Reddit gold brain just has completely debunked all of us, dude. Listen, I kneel, bro. He won. He definitely did not prove us completely right in every way, shape, and form. No, he debunked us, dude. Blew us out of the water.
Voters who live in cities and voters who have college education are more liberal. That's in general for everyone. Let's look at 2020 U.S. Census data interpreted by the Public Religion Research Institution. According to this data, 4 in 10 Jewish Americans live in urban areas, a majority of Jewish Americans, 51%, live in suburban areas, and only 8% live in rural areas. For comparison, only 1/3 of white Christians, 33%, live in urban areas, 43% live in suburban areas.
Because they know when they get in the rural area, they're gonna find me. They're gonna find this chud. This chud, number one Reconquista enjoyer. Number one Reconquista enjoyer. They're going to find number one Inquisitional enjoyer here. They know they're going to find some chuds in the rural area. They cannot risk finding the Inquisitional chuds in the I was about to say suburban, rural area.
24% live in rural areas. That means the percentage of Jewish people who live in rural areas is 1/3 the percentage of white Christians who live in rural areas. Meanwhile, 31% of Jewish people attained a postgraduate degree, while an additional 27% attained just a college degree. That means Jewish Americans are the most educated religious group in America, besides Unitarians and Hindus. For comparison, 13% of white mainline Protestants and 13% of religiously unaffiliated people attain a postgraduate degree. My point with all these numbers is that the political beliefs of Jewish people aren't especially bizarre or unique. Jewish people disproportionately live in urban areas and disproportionately attend college. And both of these factors influence people, including Jewish people, to be more liberal. Jewish Americans, believe it or not, are regular Americans. They're a lot more integrated than Nick Fuentes, who has himself said he is more loyal to his fake version of Catholicism than America. Now, it is true, the data shows this, that Jewish Americans like Israel. I don't think they should, but they do. Italian Americans like Italy. Mayor LaGuardia raised tens of thousands of dollars for fascist Italy during its invasion of Ethiopia, and he was a socialist.
Dude, let's go! Let's go, bro!
We're a lot more hostile to Italy in the 1930s than we are against Israel today. During World War II, the federal government was so worried about Italian-American support from Mussolini that 600,000 Italian-American immigrants had their freedoms restricted, 10,000 Italian-Americans on the West Coast were forced to leave their homes, and thousands were arrested. Meanwhile, Irish-Americans like Ireland.
And guess what? Med Chads are on top, okay? As an Anglo, I gotta recognize Med Chads are on top. They're holding it down, bro. Every single time, okay, you look at like European politics and like all the good guys are like the Portuguese Nick Fuentes, like the guys in like Italy and stuff like that. And it's like, who do we as Anglos have? We've got that like one gay guy who literally like this year, what's his name? Like he literally was going to like gay nightclubs this year. And like, and there was that video of him like doing the dance like this and stuff like that. That's supposed to be our Nick. Get me out of this nightmare, bro. Med Chads, please, if you can listen to me, help us. Dude, we need to unite again. The Anglos need a better class of hero, bro. Because we cannot have any more gay nightclub crawlers pretending to be Britain first, Anglo first patriots. Steve Laws. No, not Steve Laws, but that guy's a total homo. Pierce Morgan. Yeah, Hugh Anthony. Oh my goodness, dude. Hugh Anthony literally posted an entire video of him like crashing out on his parents and getting thrown out of his house. Has like the gayest lisp while it's happening. It's like, dude, like I feel bad for him. Like I don't want to be like thrown out of his house, but it's like this kid has got it. Like you do not represent our race, bro. Okay. You are not invited to Agartha. You are not invited. Is Clav? Wait, Tristan, is Clav Anglo, dude? Say it so, man. Please give me some hope. Is Clav Anglo? Let me know in chat because that's gonna not Oliver, bro, not Oliver Anthony. We do not claim Oliver Anthony.
President Joe Biden literally said, "Stories of this place have become part of my soul" while visiting Ireland. Sinn Féin raised millions of dollars from Irish Americans. There's a whole book on Irish Americans' very thorough involvement in the Troubles. And by the way, the Northern Irish were trying to get independence from Britain, an American ally. This isn't to say that we should persecute these ethnic...
Clav is Anglo. Let's fucking go. We're so back, dude. Let's fucking go. That's awesome. We won. We won. Anglos, Irish people, Italian people won. Jews lost. It's just that simple, dude. We won. Literally, this guy is just spending the entire time posting like white people W's. He's like, yeah, these white Catholics support other white Catholics. Yeah, based. Awesome. Like he wants to make it this like America, like civic national. Well, I'm donating to any country. Here's the thing. If we were donating to the Vatican, dude, I would have no problem with that. If we were sending funds to His Holiness in Rome and we were building like new statues and like decking out the Swiss Guard with like the newest, assault rifles and like tactical gear and training them and stuff like that, no objection from me. But we're not. We're supporting a state that hates God. We're supporting a state that hates Jesus Christ and a religion that hates Jesus Christ. And that's the issue. This is the other problem when you strip out the religious element from the JQ. The conflict is not just only a national sovereignty conflict. It is between the cross and the synagogue. The conflict isn't just a national sovereignty thing. It is between the cross and the synagogue. And the problem is that currently we're sending money to the synagogue and we're not supporting the cross. That's kind of the whole issue. So this guy's trying to make it this like, well, here's these other groups of white Catholics donating back to their home country. Yeah, don't care, dude. That's fine. I don't want Jews to donate to their country. I'm sorry. I'm not Jewish. I do not support Judaism. I'm against Judaism. It's literally just that simple. I'm not going to split hairs on this. I am against Judaism. And because that's what they support, I am against them. It is just that simple. Like people who want to do this whole thing about like, well, other people donate to, that's not the issue. The issue is it's between the cross and the synagogue, and I am on the side of the cross and they are on the side of the synagogue. Therefore, that's why we butt heads. It's not just a national sovereignty thing. That is such an unbelievable reduction of the issue.
Groups. I'm an Italian American. I don't want to be persecuted. My point is, Nick Fuentes is applying a double standard on Jewish Americans for having some sense of ethnic identity that he doesn't apply to other groups, like Irish and Italian Americans, because Nick Fuentes is himself Italian, Irish, and Mexican American. So to summarize, Nick Fuentes doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. I could keep ranting about this for a while longer, but I want to get this video out in a reasonable time frame. So if you want to hear more, request a video below, and if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, and consider supporting the channel.
Leave a fat dislike on this video and comment something mean. This guy wants to be nice. Comment something mean. Comment something mean in the comments and leave a fat dislike. Worst waste of my time that I have ever spent time wasting time on. I don't know what I was saying there. I was just making some stuff up. That is the most stupid waste of my time. I mean, this guy's whole debunking is like, well, look, there's other people who are billionaires. Was it ever our contention? Was it ever our claim that there's other people like it's like, no, there's no other people that are billionaires. We never said that. Okay, Saturn, get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm so, if you guys see any pagans in the chat, can you just, who's mod? Let me see about modding some people. Yulvex, I trust you, man. You're mod. Seriously, if you see any pagans in this chat, just ban them, dude. Just ban them. I'm so sick of these guys, honestly. It's between Saturn and the sun. Yeah, go worship your like wooden dildo outside in the fucking forest, dude. You're a freak. I get so tired. Like pagans do not. Let me just say this right now. Pagans have zero positive claims for why paganism is true. Zero. All their apologetics are anti-Christian slop. It is like Christopher Hitchens reheated and reboiled for a new generation. That's all it is. They don't have any positive apologetical value. I can give an apology for Christianity without ever referencing Protestantism, Islam, Judaism, any other religion. I can give a positive apologetic without even talking about another false religion. They can't. They exist in our shadow. They always love to say how they're like, no, I'm heckin' Hyperborean and stuff like that, and I'm definitely not a gay shield bearer. I definitely don't worship a deity that drank cum. Dude, why are you believing Jewish lies, bro? Yeah, it's only Jewish lies when it says that it's not something that you really want to hear about your own deity. Do you realize that like Thor what was this story? Someone refresh my memory. Didn't Thor like cross-dress or something and then literally have sex with a horse? That's the white man's religion. Cross-dressing, having sex with a horse. Yeah, fuck paganism, dude. Any pagan, I have no desire to talk to you. You are clearly not serious enough about anything to sit down and have an adult conversation. Sorry, I'm sorry. The big kids are talking right now. Go worship your like wooden dildo out in the like countryside or whatever, you know, frickin' trailer park you live in, right? Go worship your cum drinking deity and leave us well alone. We're actually trying to be adults over here.